one of the things that I always like to say the key of this herb, of really understanding it, is as we've talked about a lot, moistening properties, right? And we see that really in, as Whitney was talking about the herb, how it really can grow in very damp environments. We also see that in the signature just of the softness of this plant. Like this plant, the leaves of this plant are so incredibly soft. And I think that's a really great signature for showing that emollient property, how it softens hardness, and also how it's really bringing that softness into the tissues, and where tissues have dried and hardened. And that's an aspect of one of the main tissue states that this remedy treats, which is the dry atrophy tissue state. And when a tissue becomes atrophic, it means that it's starting to like literally lose some of its functioning. Atrophic tissues are typically very emaciated, they're malnourished, and they become dry and hard. And so there's something about the softness of this plant that to me, that's a really nice signature for that. So then when we're, and then on the other side of it, there's also the psychological indication for this plant to me, which everything about this plant is for people that are dry. And I think it's for when there's like an emotional state of dryness where you're so depleted and malnourished. And then there's just this like, there's this rigidity, there's this stuckness, there's this hardness kind of in the emotional pattern as well. That's like, it's the pattern in the body is then reflecting up into the emotional and the psychological pattern. So there's this like dryness and this hardness and this kind of inflexibility in the marshmallow person. And that kind of brings us to some of the astrological correlations to this plant. To me, marshmallow is like the archetypal lunar remedy, right? So I think of this as a moon-ruled plant, and that just applies on so many levels. We see it in the signature of the plant and how the underside of the leaves has that very silvery, kind of white silvery color. We see that in the flowers in their really kind of like creamy, white, milky coloration with that little bit of purple going on in there as well. And that just that silvery color to this plant is a distinct lunar signature. The softness, the way in which it likes to grow in moist environments, the way that it has the demulcent property and is effective on the mucosal membranes. The mucosal membranes are ruled by the moon. Moisture is ruled by the moon. Mucus secretions are ruled by the moon. Really all, like the whole moon's medicinal property is all about moisture and hydration. And of course, that's like the main pattern that we see within this plant. So that is a very distinct lunar property that we have here in the way that it is bringing moisture and bringing life. Like the moon rules the stomach as well. And that's the organ of reception, right? It's what's receiving the food, and it's that dynamic of nourishment and absorption, right? It's absorbing nutrition, it's nourishing and building and moistening tissues. That's kind of like what are the core medicinal virtues of the moon is, and that's essentially exactly what marshmallow does. So it's a very powerful correspondence here with this plant. Elementally speaking, I think of it as a water element plant, really for all the same reasons. The water element rules the mucosa, the water element rules the urinary tract, the water element rules the reproductive systems. So many areas of the body that this plant influences are also governed by the water element. It's also interesting to note that this plant doesn't tincture well, right? The only real way to prepare this herb is in water. And one of the things about that in terms of the preparation is that there's a variety of polysaccharides in marshmallow roots, some of which are soluble in warm water, some of which are soluble in cold water. And as Whitney was talking about, the cold water extract really is the most optimal way to prepare this remedy, or to dry it, powder it, and then mix the powder in some water and take it that way. Tincturing, it just doesn't really yield well to tincturing at all. You can try it, but it's kind of a waste of your time. It's much better to just do it in water and have the dried herb on hand, or the powder. So these are some of the more the archetypal reflections of this plant in the way that it relates to the planets and to the elements. And hopefully this helps provide a little bit of clarity and understanding for you in terms of how to understand and work with marshmallow root holistically. Again, I just think this is an indispensable plant. You know, the pattern of, I've heard a lot of herbalists talk about this, especially those that are a little more versed in Chinese medicine, talking about how the pattern of yin deficiency is rampant in our modern culture, especially within the kidneys. People are deficient, people are weak, people are tired, people are malnourished, people are needing that kind of rejuvenation and rebuilding and restoration, specifically of yin, of those fluid components of the body. And I think Marshmallow is just a really important remedy for us to understand how to work with as herbalists, especially, you know, in the modern day and age of rampant yin deficiency, but also with so many gut problems that people face, leaky gut syndrome, antibiotic trauma in the gut, immunological things going on in the gut. I mean, Marshmallow is incredibly healing for digestive health. I just think this is a good plant for you to know and understand. So thanks so much for joining me here in this episode. Hopefully you learned something good. Be sure to hit the like button if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to the podcast, subscribe and all of that. And head on over to our blog at evolutionaryherbalism.com for more free videos and training over there. And until the next one, take care and be well.